Welcome to Scorched Earth and the general reading for the sign of Leo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for Gemini season or June 2026, whatever you prefer, whatever your timing paradigm is, I'm here for it. So I hope you're well. I'm using the 777 deck for you today. Don't look at that tower. Because I love it. Things to tell you before we begin. If the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end of this reading. That will be in the description box below. You're looking for the link that takes you to Self-I if you just want the individual reading. If you want access to more of the extended content that I make, you might consider coming over to Circle, which is my where my private community lives. There you can get access to all of the extended content for all of the signs that I do every month, but you can also watch the weekly energy readings that I do that are really quite long. They're like 45 to 60 minutes long, depending on the intensity of the moment, and get the opportunity to participate in the Deccan Walk, which has just been extraordinary. I'm so pleased we decided to do it. Really am. It's life-changing stuff. And if you join at the higher tier, then you can come participate in the live classes that we run over there, or access all of the recordings for the previous classes that we have run on all sorts of modalities. It's not just tarot, there's also numerology, there's chaos magic, there's traditional magic, there's magic fundamentals. There's all sorts of things, working with the shadow actually. Yes, so possibly consider that. Also, links for booking a reading are in the description box below, and I've put up a couple of classes. If you just want a taster to see what they're like, there's the option of checking out those as well. There will be more going up, but I genuinely have not had the time to get them onto the website yet. So anyway, it's enough prattling on. Let's have a little chat about what we're going to be doing here today, Leo. So we're going to start, as we have done for the last few months, with the most important question that we can ask at this time, which is, where am I right now? That question is fundamental. Not what we're afraid of, not what we see coming, or any of those kind of things. Like, where are we right now? And from there, somewhat inspired by the Deccan Walk, we're going to be looking at what aspect of our belief systems, our belief structures, our worldview, our thinking is actually ripe for revision right now. The Decans that we're in is Gemini 1, 2, 3. These are represented by the 8, 9, 10 of Swords. And we know that then something is changing on that level, quite a fundamental level, actually, in terms of the way that we see reality and that we process it and all that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to look at today. And then finally, we'll close out with the second most important question that you can ask in 2026, which is simply, what is the next step? We're not talking about grand plans, where you want to be in a year, 5 years from now. Simply, where is the next place that I put my big Leo paw down? That's it. So I hope that that's okay for you. Obviously, in the extended, we will expand on anything that comes out here. As yet, I don't know what that is. So maybe we should dig in and have a look. Where is Leo right now, please? We've got the Ace of Cups on its side, nevertheless present, which is good. Got another sideways card. We've got the Page of Swords on its side. And we've got the Four of Cups with the Knight of Wands, the King of Wands, and the Strength card. Hello, Leo. There you are. So we're going to put these like this, mainly because they're not really quite upright yet, but they are getting there. At the bottom of the deck, we have the King of Pentacles. And the first thing that I want to say to you, off the back of that King of Pentacles there, is that there is probably quite a drive within you to try and work out where you are supposed to be versus where you are. I think we talked last month about this sense of everybody kind of overtaking a little bit in terms of how they were moving forwards, and Leo feeling like there was a gap that was becoming so unnavigable or untraversable, let's put it that way, that there was going to be very little that they could do to catch up if they did not get stuck in right now. And I'm not sure that I agree with that, even though as a Leo, that is exactly how I'm feeling, just to dissociate wildly for a second. The King of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck feels like the drive, but it's not your king. So forward planning, things like being, super responsible with resources, which are probably a little difficult right now, to be fair. And I'm thinking about that because Pluto is sat in your opposite sign on the other side of the chart, but he's in retrograde right now, right? So this pressure of Pluto is playing on Leo, and all of the traditional ways in which Leo would do things, measure their own success, all the Leo stuff, even down to visibility and shit like that. He's a force on the other side of the chart that is playing on Leo, and he is also retrograde, and he will be retrograde until October. So I feel like there's a tension around resources, there's a tension around plans for the future, there's a tension around doing things the right way, but also potentially a bit of tension on resources that you have at your disposal in the first place. Let's have a look and see what's under him. Four of Pentacles. Interesting. There's this kind of need to double down on what you've got, Leo, and be like, I've got to guard this like smouldered dragon guarding gold, because it feels like things are slowly getting stripped away. And in reality, that is absolutely correct. Things are being stripped away, but it feels like the contraction ahead of the expansion. Now, it's worth noting at this point that Jupiter will be moving into Leo in July at some point. I can't remember off the top of my head what date it is that it's moving in. And so we've got an expansion of Leo themes that is happening there. But simultaneously, we will also have the South Node also entering the sign of Leo. And so whatever we're clinging to, you can guarantee that the South Node is going to strip away. You add into that the opposition with Pluto, and Pluto wanting to strip away the conditioning. What we see is that there is a stripping the meat off the bone here, Leo, to reveal what is underneath, in order that you may grow in future. Now, whether that starts in July or whether that might take a little longer, I don't know, I can't say. But not at this point anyway. But the fundamental issue, and the one that should be occupying most of your time and probably isn't, is the relationship that you have with yourself, and then by extension with the universe. Because the subconscious, the stuff that's going on underneath the surface for you, is actually where you communicate with the universe. That's the take right there, Leo, right? It's nothing to do with what your conscious mind wants. It's actually nothing to do with what your conscious mind is putting out there and what it's engaging with. Everything always happens on the level beneath that, because what's consciously expressed and unconsciously felt or unconsciously thought or unconsciously projected need to align for you to be truly engaging with the generative nature of the universe. And if it feels like things are being stripped away, it's because there is a misalignment between what you consciously think and what you subconsciously believe. Now, if you remember when we were talking at the beginning of this reading, this whole reading is structured around what part of your belief system, your belief structures are getting, are ripe for revision. And this is it for you. It's what you believe you are allowed to receive. There is a mismatch here. So the Page of Swords is showing up on his side, and the problem with that is, although I feel like most Leos recognise that there is somewhat of a mismatch somewhere, we're kind of looking around for information and we don't even know what the fuck we're looking for. That's the problem. The Page of Swords is on his side and he's like, well, I'm here. Somebody give me a sign, give me some sort of direction in which I'm supposed to look, and then I'll do something. But we're not getting that. We've got this kind of silence going on, which is a bit grim, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, Queen of Swords. Ace of Pentacles, and I think that really is the nub of the issue there, because what the Queen of Swords wants to do is she wants to understand. The Queen of Swords wants to make sense of things such that we can understand what it is that we think. And the problem is that you're trying to use your conscious mind to investigate what is being held by your subconscious mind. And that's not the process here, particularly when it comes to where you should put your energy and attention. Because if this is an underlying feeling that you have, and this corresponds very much with the kind of panic that I was feeling around the King of Pentacles here, it's just kind of like, I need to shore up my stability somehow. I need to firm things up because I am deeply responsible and all that sort of stuff. But it's all got to happen at the level of this. Then it doesn't matter how many pentacles you throw at it, and it actually doesn't matter how many swords you throw at it. This is not a thinking situation. This is not a planning situation. This is an uncovering of what is spontaneously real about Leo, and that's not something that can be prepared for. In terms of uncovering your underlying belief structures, I like the fact that the Ace of Cups is there full stop. I'll be honest with you, Leo, because it does speak to the amount of work that you have done so far, but it's still not comfortable with receiving. And it might be in the next set of cards that we can work out why that is, and how you can begin to work with that somewhat. But this fundamental mismatch can't stand. And you're aware enough to know that it's there, but not quite how to work with it. This Four of Cups, also on its side, and I'm glad that it's on its side, because there was a point in time where this would have been in the upright and this very much would have been in the reverse for you, Leo. And it's not there. It's turning. These things are turning in the way that we want them to, which is great, but the work is not yet fully done. And if you think about Fools as representing our emotional foundation, then really we want this entirely reversed, because this is a state of gratitude. This is recognizing that there is help and assistance always available if you know how to ask for it. And an upright Ace of Cups knows how to ask for it, because it's also ready to receive it. And that's not where you are. And I don't feel like there's that this is something that is just sitting just microscopically beneath the surface, such as you just need to clear the dust off it a little bit. We're talking about core wounding around the idea of belonging, about the idea of being enough, about the core wounding around just rejection, full stop. And then we have these energies of the Knight of Wands, the King of Wands, and the Strength card all showing up simultaneously. All fire. Sagittarius, Leo, Leo, right here. And they're saying that, this period is a period of growth for you. And as such, it's better to think about it more as a kind of ebb than a flow. I think Leos get into a flow state when they are able to give and they are able to express themselves creatively or otherwise, right? Where it just flows from them. Ebb periods are where they're kind of coming back inside and going, hang on, I've recognised that there is a mismatch between what I think I'm capable of receiving and what I would actually like, and I'm also afraid of being rejected, and I'm afraid that if I show up as my true self, that nobody's going to like that. And in fact, there's something that I have to work to that is a script for a different sign, Taurus, interestingly, that I'm trying to follow, when that actually isn't who I am at the core. And yet that conflict continues. So the Knight of Wands is putting this situation as kind of front and centre for the right now, as in terms of how it's all being dealt with. But double Leo to follow means that there is something of an identity crisis going on right now. I don't like it, but it's there, and it's something that, in all likelihood, Leo, I think it is entirely possible that you've been wrestling with this since Mars went retrograde in the sign of Leo, which wasn't last year, the year before. It's like everything's been just fucking off since then, right? Now, we do have another Mars retrograde coming up. I can't remember if it's in the next 6 months or whether it's at the beginning of next year. But Mars stationed in Leo, and then it retrograded back through Leo, and then back through Cancer, and then it sat there for fucking ages and really, really slowly came out of Cancer, and then really, really slowly covered the same ground in Leo that it had covered before. And I have to say, as a Leo, I felt like everything's been just off since then. Nothing's just worked right. So maybe it is at some point that Mars retrograde that we're going to have later, although I don't think it's happening in the sign of Leo. Pretty sure not. Might tie up that cycle somewhat. But the one thing that we can point to is that this identity crisis has definitely been going on for a while. Mars retrograde or no, I think it's been going on for a while. When was it? September 2024? I think it was September 2024. And in the best tradition of all things that matter, this takes time. It's incredibly frustrating, and particularly when I think the spirit is willing, which is what it feels like to me, that the spirit is willing to make the changes, whatever they are, willing to do it. But there's a kind of stasis. Stasis is maybe the wrong word. It's just a really, really slow period of development, because it's unpicking things on the level of the subconscious that are blocking your ability to be able to receive. Now, like I said, I'm not sure quite how this Jupiter in Leo, South Node in Leo, is going to feel while we're in it. I'm fairly certain it's going to be tiring, because South Node transits always are. Jupiter in Leo should bring some blessings, except that that's not really what Jupiter represents. Jupiter represents simply the expansion, so it could be that it's just really, really tiring. I don't know. But at the same time as all of that is going on, and we've got the opposition in Pluto, there's going to be a solar eclipse in the sign of Leo. It's like 20 degrees or something like that. 20 degrees and 8 minutes, or 20 degrees and 9 minutes. 9, I think. Which is injecting a lot of energy into the sign of Leo, which makes me feel like everything is just going to get really, really loud from July, and that the Leo experience is going to be huge and triumphant on one side, and fucking knackering and a little bit debilitating on the other, and we have to find that way of kind of navigating between those two spaces. Take the power up where you can get it, and hope that this offsets a lot of the more exhausting energy of the South Node. Do you see what I mean? The point that I'm trying to make about where you are right now is not that you're doing anything wrong. I think you're doing everything right, but I would draw your attention to the fact that this is a slow process, and if you're trying to follow a script that is not a Leonine script, which is to say the best example of Leo energy that you can put out there, but something that feels perhaps a little more Taurian. I have to do all these things in this order, and I've got to be responsible, and I've got to, structure a kind of container that can hold me in a way that is acceptable to other people, versus, no, I want the big guns, universe. Bring me the big things. And still trying to work out what the fuck it all means in the middle of everything. It's a confusing time to be alive, Leo. I think it's a confusing time to be a fixed sign. And come back to me and check in August whether I think it's a confusing time to be a Leo, because in all likelihood, that's probably what I'm going to think. So let's have a look at the belief system, the thinking, the worldview. Which bit of it is ripe for revision right now? So we have the Hermit card, and it is showing up sideways, which is interesting. Let's continue. What else do we need to know? We've got Temperance reversed, and we've got the Ace of Swords with the Four of Pentacles now showing up at the bottom of the deck. And yeah, it reminds me of when I was a kid. One of the many ways in which I was completely brutalised as a child. I had to have some teeth out, and it turns out I have some really quite astonishing roots on my teeth. They're like this long. Yeah. And I actually ended up being held down in the chair by my mother while my dentist took the teeth out, because I was tweaking out really fucking hard. Now, in retrospect, I see that I was having a total autistic meltdown, but, never mind. And the thing that really upset me about the whole procedure, aside from the fucking obvious, being held down in a chair while it happened, was the fact that there were, around these very, very big roots that I had, there is something that the dentist referred to as cement. We've got to break the cement that's holding the tooth in. And so instead of just like whopping the tooth out, they had to, this was the 80s, right? He had his foot on the chair, and he was like smashing down in my mouth with the pliers on the tooth, trying to crack whatever it was that was holding the tooth in place so that he could pull it out. And that bit really, really upset me the most, I think. But the reason that I mention it is because it's that quality of the cement around the tooth that the Four of Pentacles is really kind of bringing up to me right here. So these things are so fundamentally rooted, so fundamentally ingrained in you. In terms of whatever the Pentacles represent, so value, your inherent value, what value you present when you show up to anything at all. The ways in which you have been previously appreciated that maybe you might not be being now because you're being called to evolve. And the pain of that transition that is represented by this Four of Pentacles right here. It's like, no, I know how everything works. I've got extensive experience of how everything works. I know that this is the only way that I'm really acceptable to people. This is my foundation. But this kind of level of change, this kind of level of and there's a lot of it here, Leo, is saying, no, that foundation has to change because it's going to carry a lot more on top of it than previously it used to. What's underneath here? Oh, the King of Pentacles. It just switched places. How? There's a different kind of plan for the future than you can currently perceive with your current level of consciousness. And what you need to do is just allow the process to unfold, which is about the last fucking thing that it seems to me that you want to do, Leo, because you're trying to understand. You're trying to participate in your own life experience. And the universe is saying, no, you just fucking sit there, do as you're told. And you're like, but I'm eager, I'm willing, I'm enthusiastic, I want to change. Show me the ways, oh great, wise universe. And instead you get this holding pattern where it feels like slowly, bit by bit, things are being stripped away and nothing is being put in return. But I think that this whole process is less about what gets put in and more about the space that is created for you to expand to fill it, Leo. So this Hermit card here, card of the internal journey, it's showing up on its side is representative of the fact that it isn't just about what's changing inwardly. It's also about recognizing that things are changing outwardly, and those two things are connected. And you may not be able to quite see what it means. You might not be able to quite understand how it directly relates to you. Queen of Swords really struggling to make sense of it all and see where you should be putting your attention. But nevertheless, they are connected. The Hermit in reverse sometimes, there are lots of ways of interpreting this card, but sometimes it feels for me like it's like the internal work is done. Now you don't forget to come out the other side. And instead, this seems to be this kind of balanced approach. With this Temperance card of upheaval, and it does represent upheaval, it represents a kind of instability, because usually in the upright, the Temperance card is talking about, the temperate approach and the balance, the equilibrium. When she shows up in reverse, it's like things are unbalanced. You don't need to do anything other than just keep all the balls in the air as best you can for now, because there's something happening here that you don't quite understand. And it probably will start to get sharper in terms of what it is pointing out to you, Leo, than where you are right now. The biggest ace here, the biggest impact of the Ace of Swords here is the recognition that it's here at all. And perhaps also the recognition that the Ace of Pentacles is also present. And the recognition that the Ace of Cups is also present. You know, the one ace that we're missing is the one that Leos really like, which is the Ace of Swords, the Ace of Wands, beg your pardon. Why? Because that's your ace, right? Now we're doing something. This all feels, to a Leo, far too fucking abstract. It's like, yeah, okay, this is all great. Now when do I get to actually do something? And the universe is saying, not yet. Not yet. It's not time. You've got to sit with this for a little bit longer. You've got to sit with this for long enough to recognise where you're chained to it, and then choose to get up and walk away from it. But it's going to take a shift in consciousness for you to recognise that. Why? Because a problem is not solved by the same level of consciousness that created it. So the problem is that we don't even know what the problem is. That's the long and short of it, Leo. And I cannot think of a more tedious fucking position for us to be in. Because I don't really recognise what the issue is. I don't really recognise what the problem is. I'm open to the possibility of changing it. Just give me something to work with. And the universe said no. No. Until you work out what is fundamentally chaining you to where you are, you have to sit there and wait it out. Even though it feels uncomfortable, even though it feels unbalanced and unstable, and even though you're not quite sure whether you're supposed to be projecting outwards or turning inwards, it's like, well, no, you actually just do both. Just keep doing both. In terms of what needs to change in your mindset is that, you know, we've ascertained what is important, and it's all about this. It's the one ace that isn't in the upright. It's doing the thing, but it's doing it slowly. And there's no corresponding wand here because you can't do your way out of this. You can't just change something that you do. This is a fundamental shift in the way that your foundation is created. Which is probably the most annoying thing I've ever fucking said. I'm bristling on behalf of all Leos everywhere. I'm sorry. Let's have a little look at this. Tell me about the Ace of Swords. We have the Empress at the bottom of the deck. But we have this big shit show of cards that have come out here. So we've got the Five of Cups. We've got the Three of Wands. We've got the King of Cups. And we've got the Two of Swords. Now, the problem with this is that if you read left to right, such as I do, because I'm English and we write from left to right, and so generally that's considered to be how time passes in the West, right? In places like Arabia. So Arabia really, places where they speak Arabic, let's say that instead. In fact, time is considered to move right to left, right? If we hold this left-right paradigm for a second, what we see is actually a kind of looping. Now, I don't know if you can see this in the cards in the way that I am, but it feels like a looping. Just coming, you know, walking this way, hitting the Five of Cups, which is the grief, the loss, the lack, the emotional stuckness, and walking around the back of this, you know, bench, whatever it is, and then just coming out of this door again. We're just looping and looping and looping, and this is why we can't do our way out of this, because we're stuck in a loop, and it's a loop that's so strong we don't even realise that we're living it. And what do we have here? Then we've got the King of Cups. Well, surely that's great, right? There's emotional maturation. There's the kind of pinnacle of emotional experiences that is mature. But instead, we've got just put it there. An extremely dissatisfied looking King of Cups in the triple goddess. The kings are all queens and the queens are all women. Which is to say the kings are all women. Anyway, she's looking kind of vampiric, but certainly pretty pissed off. And the body language is just like, well, fuck it. Now, if you consider that this is the underlying emotional energy that is feeding this loop, well, I don't even expect anything will fucking change. I'm just going to sit here and stare at the fucking sea. That's the energy that you move with, and you cycle round the fucking back of the bench and then you back out the fucking door again, right? It's just going round and round and round. This is the energy that is feeding that. And it's a wonder that it's even on its side, Leo. And the problem is that we can't see it. And we can't see it because it's so fundamental to our experience. We don't know how to see the world in any different way. We genuinely don't. And like I said, open to information. By all means, anybody tell us how to do it differently in a way that we can understand. And we'll make sense of it, and then we'll put the energy in. We're enthusiastic, we're keen, we're open. And the universe says no. Because what you don't recognise is how much of this loop you follow. Now, for some of you, it might be because you do things from a place of guilt or shame, or, you know, motivated by the parenting words that we hate so much on this channel, you know, must, ought, have to, should, these sorts of words. What we're not seeing here is any kind of creative expression. This is why the Ace of Wands is not here. We don't see an authentic lion roaring. Yeah, even look at that. The guy there. There's something very similar about the level of dejection and almost kind of weariness that is coming from both of them. He doesn't realise that he's chained to the box. He doesn't realise that nothing is going to change while they're sitting there feeling sorry for themselves. And neither of these energies are consciously understood as operative within the Leo psyche. It's like no matter what you do, you always come across this Five of Cups energy, and it's like you double down on well, I've just got to keep moving. I just got to keep doing the thing. And that rather rigid cycle of Leo energy, which is like, just keep being brave, keep showing up like this. Oh, fucking hell, this really hurts. Ouch. Okay, I'm going to try again, and I'm going to do it better, and hopefully I'll, this time, I won't run into the Five of Cups. We do. Over and over again, because we do not see what we do not know that we do not know. You see what I mean? Now, all of these cards here are showing up on top of the Ace of Swords. And that Ace of Swords is the epiphany moment when all of this hits. If the underlying energy that you're putting out to the universe is, and it kind of is right now, Leo, through the Ace of Cups, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, everything's wrong, I'll just be brave, and then it'll be fine. And then you're brave, and then you hit against the wall again. It's not like the universe is putting obstacles and resistances in your way. It's trying to actually just move any of the novel energy out of the way so that you recognize what is operating underneath. Because the foundation that you have right now is insufficient to carry what will be built on top of it later. And whether this is stuff that is sitting in your shadow or whether it is repressed emotional energy or something, there's an evolution in the making. But it's coming by way of, as you would expect, struggle. Like I said before, it's almost like it's contingent on you getting to the point where you recognize that you are chained to this chest right here. In a state, in an act that you didn't even realize you were participating in. Because the Two of Swords is here. Now, how long this goes on, I don't think is necessarily at this point something that we can comment on, because, like I said, the energy of the South Node coming into Leo would suggest that there's a lot of unpacking here, and it may well take 18 months for it to for its work to be completed. But at the same time, with a solar eclipse in Leo is charging up that house, and not one but two. We're going to get another one in 2027 as well, and no corresponding lunar eclipse. I feel like this is charging Leo with the ability to be able to endure quite a lot, and particularly in terms of ambiguity and all that kind of thing, while they're dealing with their own personal looping system. Eventually, to be able to turn that cup the right way up. Well, so what is the next step? Six of Wands reversed. Ouch. But not necessarily ouch, right? Nine of Wands. Ooh. Okay, well, we have reached that point in the day, apparently, where it's way too fucking hot for my camera to operate, so it's shut down. So you've lost me in the corner here, but I am still here. The reason that I oohed is because we have the Justice card showing up here, in addition to the Knight of Pentacles, who I have to say has actually been showing up a lot in this round of readings, because I've felt this resurgence of nodal energy that is quite uncharacteristic. It's quite rare that in the run-up to the South Node leaving a sign that we get a sudden intensity of everything that it represents, and yet it's here. And I've seen it across virtually all of the signs now. And this is important because obviously this is where the South Node is right now before it moves into your sign. And what we know then is that whatever the South Node themes of your life are right now, and to understand that, you're going to have to look and see which house is ruled by Virgo in your chart. For example, I am a Capricorn ascendant, so Virgo actually rules my 9th house. So it's things about, belief system and, my worldview. God, what else? Passports, visas, contracts, publishing, long distance travel, right? Things along that kind of that kind of nature. We know that the South Node is doing some work in there right now, and it's trying to balance out what is excessively critical, what I'm excessively dogmatic about, where I'm excessively detail oriented when actually I should just accept some things, right? So if you were, for example, a Pisces ascendant, then Virgo would be your 7th house on the other side of the zodiac, right? Have a look at your chart. Have a look at the house that Virgo rules. Everybody has a house that is ruled by Virgo. Look at it in whole sign too. And then you will see where all of this big shift is happening, but where the resurgence of these energies are going on. And why are they going on? Because there is a big karmic balancing that is happening, that is asking you to be a Leo and not be something else. Now, there's a lot of Taurus influence on you initially, with that Five of Pentacles and with that with that King of Pentacles. But don't forget, we're also seeing the King of Cups and we're seeing the Five of Cups as well. Now, these are both signs that square everything that you have in Leo, by house at least anyway. Why? Because if Leo's here, Aquarius is here, and then Taurus is here, and Scorpio is over here. It seems like you are trying to be everything other than a Leo at the moment. And I get it. I understand. Because it's very unclear what the fuck a Leo is supposed to be right now. It's not a period of time that is particularly favourable to be a fixed sign. It seems like there's a lot of work to do to allow us to adapt and change, but also to evolve. And yet it's very, very clear that this is necessary for the next stage of our development. So bearing in mind that I'm kind of sitting on the fence a little bit about how the Leos will experience this Leo energy, that clusterfuck of Leo energy actually, that is going to start from July onwards. If it were overwhelmingly positive, are you actually in a place to be able to receive that? Because the cards say not. And if it wasn't necessarily all, rainbows and cucumber sandwiches and unicorns and pixie dust and whatnot, would you still seek to turn this the right way up so that there was the possibility of catching even something good? The secret sauce in this reading, Leo, is about maintaining that positive and sunny outlook, knowing that all things change, while you allow yourself to kind of feel around in yourself. Because remember, we're looking for the loop, and there is a loop there for sure. Because it isn't just Leos that are going to get hit with all of this Leo energy. Like I said, everybody's got a house in their chart that is ruled by Virgo. Everybody has a house in their chart that is ruled by Leo. So everybody's getting the Leo treatment in the Leo part of their chart. And not everybody can cope with Leo energy. We talked before about, fucking being too much, too extra for a lot of people, right? Now you put Jupiter in that sign as well. Like, the energy of Leo is about to crank up really quite dramatically. And Leo's trying to find their way in the middle of all of that, or will try and find their way in the middle of all of that. But think about every other poor fucker. He's going to have to cope with Leo energy, acting on their life, who is not blessed in being a Leo, to be able to deal with that. You see what I mean? Do you see why this moment of struggle is actually really important? It is the secret sauce here. It's the way of looking at this to see what is actually happening here from a longer term point of view, rather than the rather obvious right here, right now, what's going on. Or I have to make a plan, I have to do all this. It's like, no, this is all shaping and moulding Leo to show up fully as a Leo. And the world's about to experience some big Leo energy. And you need to be at the front of that. So in terms of the next step, can we take this idea of being successful off the peg for just a minute, right? The Six of Wands in the reverse is not that conspicuous public victory that we're desperate to get, right? And it's not conspicuous and public because we want everybody to, clap us and all that sort of thing, but it's just that sense of having our shit together. It's a question of, can you tolerate not having your shit together long enough to allow the universe to shape you and mould you into the pure form of what you are, without overlaying what you think it should look like on the top? Because ultimately the minor arcana cards are about the things that are within our control, right? So this is not saying you can't be successful. It's saying that you can't perceive of how successful you can be. You don't have a context for it. You don't have a framework for it. Additionally, you're not even really in a place where you'd be able to receive that, not properly, not to the extent that it might well be on its way in over the next year or so. And can you concentrate on what is yours to control? Now, the Nine of Wands there is a card of boundaries. It is a Sagittarius card. It's Moon in Sagittarius. So it's locating what's going on internally as more important than what's going on externally. And whilst what's going on externally may be quite stressful, we're looking for the loop. And the boundaries that we need to put in place are between, to some extent, not us and other people, but us and our expectations of what we think other people want from us. Like, obviously, that's all coming from you, Leo. But it's not really that helpful right now. Like, no wonder you're having a fucking identity crisis. It's like there's something really pure that's trying to emerge from Leo, and we're like, oh well, maybe people might not like that very much. So like, maybe if we, smear it with aura of Taurus or aura of Scorpio, it might be a bit more acceptable to the collective. Fundamentally, what's sitting at the root of all of this is a fear of rejection, a fear of being rejected for what we are. At least if you cover it over with something else, then we can, sort of mollify our egos and say, well, it's okay, we didn't really show up as who we were anyway. They just didn't really like the container that we put ourselves in. I think it's the fact that you're even thinking along those lines that is the loop, Leo. So we recognise that the South Node work continues, certainly in Virgo where it is right now, even though you are a Leo, because there's something about how this is aligning us with a future that is ours to collect, whatever may be contained in that, right? But we have to make sure that we're not trying to project what our version of success would look like on that situation, because that isn't helpful, Right, apologies for the camera malfunction, but once it gets above 28 degrees in here, the camera's just shut down. These cameras are renowned for it. And unfortunately, it's summer, so it's considerably warmer outside. Anyhow, I'm going to go to the extended now. If you would like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Circle, you can do that on Selfie. I'd be delighted to see you in either place. You know that, Leo. I've lost count of the number of times I've said it today, but like, the beatings will continue until morale improves. It's literally where we are right now, my friends. So, like, stick it out because we can, but be aware that it's the loop that we're looking for. And this kind of flailing around right here, it's not really useful. And in all likelihood, this is something that is going to show up, or at least the awareness of it is something that's going to show up when we least expect it. And maybe we might actually see it in other people rather than ourselves first, and then it's like a light going on, I don't know. There's a lot to prepare for ahead of July. There's a lot to deal with from July onwards. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this and say that it's all sunshine and rainbows, because it's not. It's kind of grim. But at the same time, there's something very, very important happening here, and I would just advocate for you sticking with it, even though it's tedious, even though it's frustrating, even though it's boring. Like, fuck it, do it anyway. What else are you going to do? Right, really, in 2026, what else are you doing? It's got that quality of, something that I said to Sagittarius a lot over the last 3 years. After, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. It's like, there's no magic bullet to just making everything better, and no matter how enlightened you are, you're still going to have to chop wood and carry water. You still have to exist on this plane. So, rather than getting frantic, try and be strategic about the nature of your resources, whether it's your time, your care, your effort, your money. Don't panic about it. Just deal with it. Make sure your bills are paid. Do all that sort of stuff. And just keep plodding forwards. Keep chopping wood. Keep carrying water. We're all in this for the long haul, and none of us are getting out of here alive. So if the energies are saying this is where we are right now. Let's just be fucking here. And let's see if we can find a little bit of joy in the middle of all of it while we are here, you know? Fucking hell, 50 minutes, right? I'm away. I am away. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.